it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Sunday, August 29th. So the moon is still in Taurus, but will be transiting into Gemini. The moon is going to go void, of course, 11:59 a.m., again, Atlantic Standard Time, and will lock into Gemini energy 1:42 p.m., again, Atlantic Standard Time. So we have 9 different aspects taking place today. 6 of them involve the moon. We are building towards the last quarter moon in Gemini. This is a huge releasing point, a crossroads. This is taking a good look at the information coming in, the new ideas that we've been kind of illuminated to, and where essentially we reach a tension point, recognizing that one path is ending for sure, that one cycle is ending for sure, and that we are now aligned with the new path that we were uncertain about this time last week, that we have enough validation and markers this week to actually start pouring into. So the moon, right out of the gate, still in Taurus, trines Pluto, the god of the underworld. This is really putting a huge pressure on us to fuel the passion, the desire, the need for change. A lot of us have had a huge struggle trying to emotionally transform inside of ourselves, get on the same page between our heart and our head, and really recognize where it is that our fears, our insecurities, our doubts about the future, about the path that we are looking to walk has literally paralyzed us, has put us in a state of non-action. And many of us, because we've chosen back a month ago under the new moon in Leo, under the Lionsgate portal, to choose one path of evolvement over the path of revolvement, we have to make some changes. Again, the moon in Taurus is a fixed sign. It does not want to make changes even though it knows it has to. So this particular run-in between the moon and Pluto is going to be great for us to recognize where it is that we have been in paralysis due to the fears and insecurities, the what ifs, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and where it is that now we are willing to see that we have the opportunity to allow that to be the fuel, the catalyst to actually push us into the changes that we 100% have to make. The sun in Virgo is going to make a beautiful aspect with Chiron, the wounded healer. And this is really showing us where it is that the potential for us to abandon old ways of thinking, old ways of behaving, old ways of being is so potent right now that we have the ability to heal some of the emotional wounds that Pluto likely would illuminate for us. Again, the darker parts of us, our insecurities, our fears, where it is that we're giving our power away by not standing in the power to make changes that are going to help our situation. So the sun in Virgo, who of course is illuminating healing, because that's what Virgo energy is, it heals inside without outside triggers, outside validation. It has done the work to analyze, to sort through the information that we need. And now it is prepared because it logically, practically makes sense to make some serious changes in who it is that we are, how it is that we're operating, how it is that we're taking action in our physical realms to make things happen. The sun also squares the true node. Now, the square is a tension point. The sun, who is in Virgo, illuminating what needs to be restructured, reorganized, rebuilt in order to support our health and wellness, to support our new calling, to support new ways of being of service, not only to ourselves, but to other people. We are now bumping into the true node, which of course is the destiny point, trying to remind us of what all of this awkward adjustment period is for. The vision, the dream that we're holding very tightly, because of course that is what is motivating us to make these very uncomfortable changes to our reality. So now it's kind of like we are driven to make these changes. We want to evolve. We are kind of putting an ending to that negative narrative that is keeping us stuck keeping us paralyzed in fear and indecisiveness. And now we are bossing up to fuel the fire of passion, of desire, of recognizing what our realities are going to look like once we get through this very uncomfortable adjustment phase. So the moon in Taurus squares Jupiter. Jupiter, of course, wants us to grow, wants us to expand, wants us to push the boundaries of our comfort zones to align with the new vision, the new dreams. Jupiter magnifies whatever it is, that energy that we're settling into. And a square, of course, is providing us with a tension point. Now, a tension point, although it doesn't feel very good, is a perfect opportunity for us to say, you know what? I feel stuck. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the pain. I'm tired of the same old, same old. I'm ready to make a change. So out of this tension point, we recognize where it is that we want more, right? Jupiter, the great magnifier, wants us to want more because that is when change happens. That's when we push ourselves outside of our comfort zones, outside of our boundaries, to go after new wants, dreams, desires. And that is exactly what we're set up to do at this particular point in the calendar. The moon in Taurus semi-squares Chiron once again, and this is another tension point that will kind of show us where it is that our emotional wounds are still loud, still needing attention. We want more, but our insecurities, our uncertainties, our fears, our doubts have a very loud voice in our mental plane right now and have the ability, just when we push ourselves to the breaking point where we're ready to make a shift, we're ready to make a change, we're ready to go after new ideas, new visions, new dreams. Just when we get to that point, suddenly negative Nancy kicks in, and that is when we are illuminated to all the reasons of why the hell this is so super scary. And that again puts us in a state of paralysis. At this point, the darker forces are winning because we're in a fear vibration. We're in a state of paralysis, staying in the same patterns, thoughts, and behaviors, feeding into the lower vibrational frequencies of the darker energy sources. We get a little bit of help here because the moon in Taurus goes ahead and trines Mercury. And this is a beautiful thing because Mercury is in its place of power in Virgo, ruling over our mental plane, the mental narrative that we now have become aware is a little bit negative. Aware is trying to keep us in a holding pattern. And this is actually one of the last aspects that Mercury is going to make with the moon before Mercury goes ahead and transits into Libra. So we have a lot of pressure on the mental plane here today, a lot of focus on the inner narrative that we're allowing to loop in our mental planes. And the moon in Taurus trining with Mercury in Virgo is really saying, okay, hold up. I have the ability to analyze where this ego narrative is coming from, where the fear is coming from, where the insecurity is coming from. We have Mercury in Virgo that's able to zoom in on the details of our mental plane, of our mental narrative, and connect the dots on why it is that we allow this narrative to loop in the first place. Once we become aware, then we can flip the script. Then there's a huge understanding within us that suddenly shifts the whole narrative into something more practical, more logical. We recognize where it is that we've been living in irrational fears, and where it is that when we give ourselves permission to step into rationalism, that we kind of got carried away with our narrative. We kind of got carried away with our thoughts, with our energy. And now we can get back on the same page to not only understand where these fears are trying to keep us in a state of paralysis, repeating the same old over and over again, but now we're even encouraged to speak up, to communicate these new thoughts, these new vulnerabilities, these new realizations to whoever it is that actually needs to hear it. This is a beautiful energy for us to work with. Just before the moon shifts into Gemini. So anytime we go from the moon in Taurus, in earth energy, very slow, very low, very fixated, very just wanting to put the blinders on, stick to what is safe, what is familiar, stay in the present moment. And then we shift to the moon in Gemini. Gemini is an air energy. It rules over the mental plane. We're curious. We're asking questions. We want to learn. We want to try new things. We want to collaborate. We want to communicate. We want to become social again. It is a dramatic shift from going low and slow to this airy, bubbly, social nature of the moon in Gemini. Our curiosity is peaking. And curiosity is the number one thing that we need right now to ask the right questions, to get the right answers, to get the detailed information together so that we can take the next step forward in our plan. So the moon in Gemini's first bump in is with Venus, who is in her place of power in Libra. So as we know, Venus in Libra has been working very hard, analyzing where we've been living in extremes, analyzing where it is that there's chaos, confusion going on in our life, and where it is that we are slowly finding our center point, our grounded point, to find balance, to find peace, to find harmony in the chaos, in the adjustment period. So the moon in Gemini, which works very well with Venus in Libra, because Libra is also an air energy, this is really putting a huge mental tension and focus on our thoughts. Why? Because Venus in Libra is very indecisive. Venus in Libra is looking outside of ourselves right now for validation, for confirmation that we're on the right path. And the moon in Gemini is saying, hey, maybe we don't have enough information to make an informed decision. It's okay to be incisive right now. It's okay to be on the fence. Let's ask more questions. Let's talk about it. Let's communicate what it is that we're thinking, what it is that we're feeling, see where everybody's standing, because maybe that's just the shift in energy that we need. So the moon in Gemini and Venus being in Libra is really going to focus on, okay, well, I don't have enough information to make the next step forward. I'm a little bit confused right now because there's so much information. There's so many aha moments and realizations coming in. I'm a little bit confused on what it is that I actually need in this moment to feel safe, to feel secure, to feel stable. I recognize right now that when I'm unsure about the move that I have to make, I tend to grip a little bit tighter and attach to the things that are old, the things that are familiar, the things that are predictable. So there is this push and pull where we know we have to move forward, but we're not ready to do that yet. So now we kind of root in a little bit firmer than what it is we should be rooting in, just because our instability, our uncertainty is kind of creating a little bit of nervousness within us. And so what do we do when we're nervous and we're unsure? We hug on to what we know is stable, is sure, but for many of us, that is the reality in which we're trying to move away from. So at this particular point in time, Mercury, who again, this is the last aspect that Mercury, while in its place of power in Virgo, is going to make, and it's the most interesting one that it possibly could make, because Mercury is making an aspect with Uranus. So Mercury is the lower level ruler of our mental plane. Uranus rules over the higher realm of our intellect. What does that mean? It means that Uranian energy is connected to the cosmos, connected to source, connected to higher vision, higher inspirations, higher dreams. We channel this energy in through our crown. We bring it down into the lower level of our intellect, which Mercury rules over. And suddenly now we're able to take this aha moment, this new vision, this new inspiration, this new realization, and we're able to apply it practically and logically to our physical lives, to our physical realities. This is essentially a huge moment of enlightenment. We have an aha moment. We see things from a different light. We know things that we cannot unknow. And although this is a lot of electricity coming in, so again, if you haven't listened to this week's Ascension symptoms, I recommend you do so, because when we have a lot of electricity come in, that affects the central nervous system. It creates a little bit of pressure and chaos in our mental plane to sort things out, to come to some kind of resolution. It creates a little bit of confusion so that we can walk through the confusion part and find what it is that we need for safety, for stability, in bringing in this new perspective and finding a new grounding point within it. We end off the day with a beautiful energy between the moon in Gemini and Neptune in her place of power in Pisces in a retrograde. Just when we're all filled up in the mental plane, when we're thinking very Earth-like, when we're thinking logically and practically and trying to put the pieces together, the moon in Gemini bumping into Neptune provides us an opportunity to channel intuition, to channel our higher selves, to dream a bigger dream, to hold on to the vision that we're looking to manifest, to float off into the ether, into the void, and see what it is that we're being called to do. And in that moment, we're able to channel all of this ethereal information through our crown, through our heart chakra, and we're able to do something practical and logical with it once we kind of settle in on this is how we're thinking, this is how we're feeling. Now, what are we going to do with it? This particular aspect is going to help us refine our feelings, define our focus, realign with the higher source so that we're not trapped, we're not paralyzed in our physical form.